I'm Betty Rock from the Wally Show here on WayFM, and tonight I am graduating from Colorado Christian University with 2 degrees, not one but 2. I got it in psychology to help me with this guy to understand him a little bit better because he's a hot mess, and then also with healthcare administration because I think I'm going to work with maybe senior citizens later on when radio pans out. That's not to say that I'm going to follow along with you as you age.
She got that just to work with me forever. We're going to be together forever.
No, that's not it. But this all started 4 years ago, and I'm so glad that I started when I did. We started because we were playing a game called Smarter Than a Rock, where Wally would ask me questions that I should know, but I didn't know.
And the whole idea was she had to win 10 times, and if she won 10 times in a year, that's all she had to do was win 10 times in 1 year, and she would get a full ride scholarship to Colorado Christian University. And it kind of started off as a bit, kind of like a joke, and then CCU was like, yeah, we'll do that. And we're like, wait, what? and she went for about 2 years of getting all the way down to the end. She'd get 9 wins and then somehow mysteriously lose in the last game of the year. One time I did rig it. I'm like, what's your favorite color? She's like, green. I'm like, nope, purple. Sorry. Because I didn't want to lose you. I was afraid that you would go to school and I would lose you. That's why.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. Whatever.
But then she finally won. We celebrated. And then next thing you know, she started at Colorado Christian University. And it's not easy, but I have to believe that you feel now at the end of it that it was worth it.
Oh, for sure. I mean, definitely there were days, you're working a full-time job and you're trying to keep your relationship still going with your friends. You don't want them to forget about you. And it takes effort, but it's all about time management. Like saying, okay, I'm carving out this amount of time to do my homework, this amount of time to make that phone call to a friend that I need to talk to. It takes a lot of responsibility. But if I can do it, you can do it. That's for sure.
I'll tell you one other thing of this too is like if you're going back to school and I commend you. I know I give you a hard time, but I love you. And I commend you for staying in it and, doing the work day in, day out, course after course after course, and doing your entire degree. Like I got my degree online, but it was my master's, and so it took me about 17 months. Not nearly the involvement that 4 years of doing this takes. And so to your credit, it's an amazing accomplishment to have 2 degrees at the end of that 4 years. It's crazy. And one little hint, too, is like if you're going back to school, say you've got a family, one of the things I learned in doing this was everybody in your family needs to be bought in. When I was going to school, it was important, like when I had papers to write or to study and things like that, my wife would make sure she kind of kept our daughter Haley busy because she was only like 8 at the time, or would take her out of the house and go do things. It was like a team effort because she knew that it was going to take time away from my family sometimes. That school had to be a priority sometimes, like you were saying, and then other times it wasn't. And so she enabled me to do it and be successful at it because she took some of the pressure off of me. So having a good support system when you do this, because you're not the only one going back to school. Everyone around you is. And like when Betty went back to school, we had to deal with her. And so, and so we went back to school with her.
Well, I kind of want to get your parents' perspective because you've been with me from the very beginning. So you say, it takes a lot of effort, and it really does, but what would be the one main thing that you've learned through going back to school yourself, and what would you tell someone?
Well, first of all, let me just say that I am excited that you graduated, and I look at this as kind of a practice run for us, like, doing some walking down the aisle and practicing practice your walk for your graduation is also helping me practice for walking you down the aisle one day. Like, I'm very excited about that.
I have a dad that's not going to
We're going to share it. Like, he'll walk part of the way, I'll walk the other part of the way. No. It's going to be glorious. And so thank you for letting me into your life so completely.
No.
But the other thing that I would say is that, going back to school, there's something my dad told me, in all seriousness. My dad told me, he said, your education is something no one can ever take away from you. Because you can have things come and go in your life. You can have jobs come and go in your life. But the one thing that can never be taken away from you is your education and what you've learned. And he made it possible, talking about family involvement. He did a job of 2 or 3 men, because I worked for him. And he said, I want you to go back to school. And I committed to it. And he did the job of 2 or 3 men on days when I couldn't be there to allow me to go back to school. And it's something that has always stuck with me. His work ethic was amazing. But he gave me the opportunity. And that set me on a completely different path, and I'll forever be thankful to him to this day for doing that.
I love how you have this perspective with your dad. When I think back to like when I was in elementary, junior high, high school, I went to a really small school and I did not excel in school. So that's all to say, if you didn't do well in high school and you think there's no way I can do well in college, no. Because I ended up on the honors.
The dean's list.
The dean's list.
Can I see if this was a conversation that you and your dad have? I'll play your dad. We'll role play here.
Oh boy.
Betty Lou, how are you there, Sugar Blossom?
Well, I'm doing just fine. Thank you.
Hey, did you make it through the whole day without eating any paste today?
Almost.
That's my girl.
All that to say, they're very proud. Like
They should be.
When my diplomas came in the mail, I gave them to my parents, and they went straight to Hobby Lobby, bought frames to have it framed, and they've got it hanging up in their living room. And they like tell people when they come over, hey, you know, my daughter, she graduated, and with honors too. And when they think back to when I was going to high school, and they would tell me, we just want you to graduate. Just graduate. They set the bar
Please,
real low.
Get
for me.
out of my house and graduate.
But it all paid off.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have a daughter that's in college as well, and she's finishing up her last semester, and I know like how proud I am of her to be finishing. And so for your parents, they have to be beyond thrilled because you're doing it the harder way too. Like doing it as an adult, going back to school while you're working is not easy to do. And all like seriously, like you doing this, I'm super proud of you that you did it, you stayed in it, and you did well. You excelled in it. And so as your other father that will walk you down the aisle someday, I am beyond thrilled at your accomplishment. So
Thank you,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah. No, so I know your parents are proud of you, and it's a thing that you set like kind of like a record, or you like I think you were one of the first people in your family to graduate with 2 degrees.
Yeah, I am. So it's kind of a big deal. I'm kind of a big deal.
You should be in your house, absolutely. Who'd have thunk it?